Every Halloween season, certain songs return. Some are obvious, some are famous, and then there are the records that only the true collectors know. Songs hidden deep inside old rhythm and blues catalogs. Songs that were never intended to become Halloween classics, yet somehow found a second life every October. This podcast story is about one of those records, a song called Voodoo Voodoo, recorded by one of the greatest voices rhythm and blues ever produced, LaVern Baker. I am Gregory Hallows, and this is Preserve Halloween Podcast. And if you've listened to this show for very long, you've probably noticed something. I love finding Halloween songs that aren't really Halloween songs, not songs written specifically for the season, for October. But these songs somehow become part of my Halloween anyway. Maybe it's the atmosphere of the song. Maybe it's the lyrics. Maybe it's simply the mood they create. And on this episode, we are going to talk about one of those songs. And I mentioned it before, this song called Voodoo Voodoo by LaVern Baker. And the funny thing about it, and what's a lot, very interesting, is this wasn't one of her hits. She had other hits, much bigger hits, like Tweedledee, Jim Dandy, I Cried a Tear. In fact, this song is what one writer called a mysterious non-hit. But ask enough Halloween music collectors, dig through enough October playlists, browse enough vintage Halloween radio programs, and eventually this song appears. So, on this podcast, I want to answer a simple question. How did one overlooked rhythm and blues record become one of Halloween's hidden gems? We'll find out, right? But first, let's meet the remarkable woman behind the microphone, the woman singing this song. Every great singer has a beginning. For LaVern Baker, that beginning was Chicago. Born Dolores Baker, and later known by several variations of her name, before finally becoming LaVern Baker, on November 11th, 1929. Her early life is surprisingly complex. Different family names appear throughout the official records, but one thing remained constant. She was always surrounded by music from an early age. She grew up listening to the blues. She sang in church. And most importantly, perhaps, she idolized blues singer Merlene Johnson, whom she affectionately called Auntie Merlene. And that influence shaped her dream of becoming a professional singer. So picture it. Young girl in Chicago, listening, watching, paying attention, imagining herself one day standing in front of a band. It's a story we've heard from countless legendary performers, kind of the recipe for, stardom. But the difference is she actually made it happen. And before anyone knew her as LaVern Baker, audience knew her by another name, Little Miss Sharecropper. Now, the first time I heard the stage name, it was just hard to grasp because it's not a positive name. I may be looking into it too much, but it's a horrible name to me. But the more you read about it and the more I read about it, the more complicated it became. According to, the research I did, promoters would dress her in straw hats and country clothes to imitate another popular performer who has just as horrible as a nickname, Little Miss Cornshucks. This was absolutely not LaVern's idea. She never liked this persona, this gimmick. She saw it as something that she had to endure on her way to becoming the artist she really wanted to be. So she put up with it, basically. And a lot of artists get trapped by those early gimmicks, but LaVern refused to stay trapped. She retired that sharecropper persona, that sharecropper gimmick, thankfully, changed her stage name, and reinvented herself. And much like many other artists that we've researched and talked about, the success did not happen overnight, of course. She spent years singing anywhere she could. Chicago clubs, Detroit clubs, dance halls, ballrooms, working with small record labels, different band leaders, different names. She joked, there was a quote in one of the things I read. She joked that her very first record sold 12 copies and she bought all 12. So she had a great sense of humor, and that reflected on her personality. She understood failure but was not defeated by it. She just kept going. What else could you do, right? So keep on doing that for a while. Eventually, the most important thing that I've always been told about anything is to stay consistent. And if you think you have a good idea, just stay at it. And, we'll be right back after this quick break. I am Gregory Hallows, your voice behind the Preserve Halloween podcast and founder of the Halloween Preservation Society. Halloween is more than a holiday. It's history, folklore, and a tradition worth protecting. If you love the stories, the research, and the deep dives into Halloween I bring you, please consider supporting the Preserve Halloween podcast. Your support can help me with more research opportunities, including travel to locations relevant to Halloween history, and to bring you even more insight into the world's greatest holiday. Every one of your contributions, no matter the amount, helps keep the jack-o'-lantern glowing just a little bit longer. So support the show if you can, help me preserve the past, and keep Halloween history alive for generations to come. Check the links in the show description to find out more. And thank you. And now, back to the podcast. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But you never know when the breakthrough is going to happen. But for LaVern, the breakthrough came in 1953 when she signed with Atlantic Records. And it is very difficult to overstate how important that was. Atlantic was not just any other record label. They were building one of the greatest rhythm and blues rosters in history. So suddenly, LaVern found herself among artists helping shape the future of American popular music, and that's when the hits started coming. She recorded Tweedledee. She recorded Bop Ting-a-Ling. She recorded Play It Fair. She recorded Jim Dandy. She recorded I Cried a Tear. So one hit after another, she became one of the defining voices of rhythm and blues. And between 1955 and 1965, she placed 20 songs on the R&B charts. And by 1961, she had already earned 3 million selling singles. But not only did that, it was happy, success was great, but it brought her freedom to record songs that weren't obvious commercial choices. And that's where Voodoo Voodoo comes in, right? So maybe if she wasn't as popular and didn't sell as many records, she wouldn't have been able to record this song. In fact, now we're at the heart of the story, the song itself. Voodoo Voodoo was first recorded on September 11th, 1958, written by Andrew Coleman and Chess Averill. When I tried to look up Andrew Coleman, it kept coming up with the guy that works with the Neptunes, if you know who that is. And Reggie Obrick's orchestra accompanied Baker, although they went uncredited, which that happened a lot back then. The recording was not released until 3 years later as the backside, I believe, of a single called Hey Memphis. So recorded in 1958, wasn't released years later. Why did the record label wait? Who knows? Sometimes they stockpile recordings. Sometimes sessions don't fit marketing. Sometimes an artist had other commercial releases that were better waiting. With a song like Voodoo Voodoo, who knows? Because that's an odd topic, I guess. But whatever the reason, Voodoo Voodoo eventually emerged, and when it did, it sounded unlike anything else in her catalog, and that might be why they didn't want to release it. But the song itself probably became something the creators never anticipated, a Halloween favorite, Why is that? Because when it was done, Halloween music wasn't really a genre, I guess. And this may tie into the whole 50s and 60s monster mania where there was a lot of monster songs, and this might have been their foray into getting her to record something like that. But it's different, right? Because the title, voodoo, that's a word that is tied to folklore and ritual. And, whether you or anyone else understands the cultural history of voodoo, the word itself creates an atmosphere. It suggests magic and curses and mystery and darkness. And then pair that with LaVern's voice. She's not just singing this song, she's performing it. It is a performance. It is much like the last podcast where we talked about K-Star. It's like theater. It's Broadway. Her delivery's bold. She's confident. It's theatrical. And throughout her career, LaVern had this ability to make every lyric sound like it was coming alive. And that same powerful voice that sold blues rhythm, blues, gospel, and rock also sells the mystery of the song. And the arrangement's amazing. It's cinematic, it creates tension, it builds mood, and it's a very short song. It's not trying to frighten you, as we've discussed before. It's transporting you somewhere, and that's what Halloween music does, especially the really good ones. And let's go back to what I was, kind of alluding to earlier. One of my favorite things about Halloween music is success doesn't happen immediately. That song wasn't a hit. Sometimes the song has to wait for the right audience and the right season or the right generation. Now, it was released in September, so maybe they were trying to capitalize on Halloween. Who knows? But as I mentioned earlier, Voodoo Voodoo was described as a mysterious non-hit. That means commercially it was not successful, right? But culturally, especially among us Halloween collectors, it has become something entirely, especially for me. A hidden treasure, a kind of song that makes people, stop and listen and go, what is that? Who is that singing? And I'll be honest with you, the first time I heard that song, I thought it was a guy singing. And I don't know why. It's much like Goodbye Horses by Q Lazarus. I thought that was a guy forever. So anyway, us Halloween people, we're different. We know it. We don't want the obvious songs. We don't want to hear Monster Mash again. I mean, we do, but not just Monster Mash. We want to find something else, something deeper, something stranger, something that was forgotten, or a hidden gem that we can share with our friends. And that's where this song lives. It's a record that you discover at a flea market. It's a record that's buried halfway through an old Atlantic Records compilation. It's a track that you're listening to late night Halloween radio and it just appears. And it makes the listener just scrambled, like, who is that? And once you hear that voice, you are hooked. And, that's the legacy of LaVern Baker, the voice and in the performance. So we can't really end the podcast on just this one song because her legacy is so much bigger. She, as a performer, broke barriers. She crossed over from rhythm and blues into pop music. She fought against copyright recordings when white artists would duplicate the arrangements of black performers. And she took this battle all the way to Congress after her song Tweedledee was copied note for note. So she fought this type of copycat, for a long time. And because segregation kept her songs off the radio while cover artists and cover versions of her songs dominated playlists. And it's not to say that she hated all covers of her songs. She loved the fact that Elvis recorded 8 of her songs, and she loved that the Grateful Dead covered CC Rider. So it was more of a thing where it was copied just to try to sound like her, I guess. But she fought it. So congratulations to her for fighting that. She toured the world. She appeared with Alan Freed. She performed on television. She recorded films. She spent years entertaining. I didn't know this. She spent many years entertaining servicemen overseas. And she, in fact, moved to the Philippines and spent 2 decades there managing a club near a U.S. military base and performing herself on the weekends, because after she visited Vietnam to entertain the troops, she came down with bronchial pneumonia, and her doctors told her to recuperate in a warmer climate. So she moved to the Philippines, ended up staying there for 20 years. She did not return until the 40th birthday of Atlantic Records in 1988, and she performed at Madison Square Garden. She would later enjoy a career resurgence, performed at the Kennedy Center. She recorded a pair of songs with Benny King. She did a song for the Dick Tracy soundtrack in the 90s, if you remember that. Just a fascinating lady. Unfortunately, later in her life, both her legs were amputated because of complications due to diabetes, but she kept recording because she said, God took my legs, but left me with my voice so I could continue to do what I love, to sing and entertain. She eventually died in 1997 from cardiovascular disease at the age of 67. She was very young when she died, buried in Maple Grove Cemetery in Kew Gardens, New York. She was inducted into the Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame in 2020, and she was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1991. She was the second woman after Aretha Franklin to be inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And much like other singers and performers of the time, like Little Richard, Big Joe Turner, she was very late in receiving recognition for her role in the birth of rock and roll, but she definitely was part of that. So quite a legacy for this lady, who I can't honestly tell you much about the song Voodoo Voodoo. So I tried to tell you more about the woman who recorded it. Because all I know, I'll restate the facts that I found. Voodoo Voodoo was written by Andrew Coleman and Ches Averill, first recorded on September 11th, 1958, released on the Hey Memphis single in September 1961 on Atlantic. If you would like to buy this on 7-inch, catalog number is 452119. I looked it up on Discogs, and copies are running like $60 for it. So not a cheap records, but it would definitely be worth it to own it. I have quite a few like monster singles, so I'm gonna try to find this one, and I might already have it. I can't remember. I doubt it. But so, what are our final thoughts? Halloween history is not found in haunted houses or horror movies or old decorations. Sometimes it's hiding inside rhythm and blues, waiting for someone to rediscover it. Voodoo Voodoo reminds us that Halloween music isn't a genre. It is a feeling, it is an atmosphere, it's mystery, it's imagination. And thanks to LaVern Baker and many others like her, that feeling has one unforgettable voice behind it. I absolutely love bringing these song histories to you. So, this October, when someone you know or you yourself hears Voodoo Voodoo for the very first time, another Halloween playlist just gets a little bit better because you're probably going to add it to yours. So until next time, stay strange, stay curious, stay spooky, and always preserve Halloween.